Hi, it's me, Jacqueline. Welcome to my channel. If you are new to the channel, then please subscribe to my channel and join me at Patreon. Link in the description. But with that purpose came new challenges. Sharing my story had opened a door I couldn't close, and while most of the feedback was positive, not everyone was supportive. The occasional hateful comment or dismissive message still stung, a reminder that not everyone was ready to accept the truth I was living. One evening, as I sat at the kitchen table answering emails, Shirley came in, carrying a folder. She placed it in front of me, her expression unreadable. "What's this?" I asked, opening it cautiously. "It's an invitation," she said. "From a nonprofit that works with LGBTQ+ youth. They saw your speech and want you to be a part of their new mentorship program." I blinked, reading the letter inside. The organization, the Beacon Project, wanted me to work with young people navigating their own journeys, offering guidance and support. "They think I'm qualified for this?" I asked, disbelief coloring my tone. "They know you are," Shirley said firmly. "And so do I." The idea was both exciting and terrifying. Mentoring others felt like a natural progression, but it also felt like a huge responsibility. What if I couldn't help them? What if I let them down? "You won't," Shirley said, reading the doubt on my face. "You've already helped so many people just by being yourself. This is just the next step." I spent the next few days mulling it over, bouncing ideas off Lydia and Richard. They were both enthusiastic, their confidence in me unwavering. "You've been through so much, Lexi," Lydia said during one of our talks. "Who better to help someone else than you?" By the end of the week, I'd made up my mind. I accepted the invitation and was soon introduced to the program's coordinators. They walked me through the process, pairing me with a mentee named Sarah, a shy 15-year-old who was just beginning to explore her identity. Our first meeting was awkward, both of us unsure of what to say. But as we talked, something clicked. Sarah reminded me so much of myself at her age, full of questions and uncertainty, but also hope. "I'm scared," she admitted during one of our sessions. "What if people don't understand? What if they don't accept me?" I nodded, remembering how those same fears had consumed me. "It's okay to be scared," I said. "But you don't have to go through this alone. You have people who care about you, who want to see you happy. Hold on to that." As the weeks went by, Sarah began to open up more, her confidence growing with each conversation. Seeing her transformation was one of the most rewarding experiences of my life, and it solidified my belief that I was on the right path. But even as things were going well, the shadow of Grayson lingered. Though he'd disappeared from the spotlight after his failed exposé, I couldn't shake the feeling that he wasn't gone for good. That feeling was confirmed when Stephen called one evening, his voice tense. "We've got a problem," he said. "What kind of problem?" I asked, my stomach sinking. "Grayson's been digging again," he said. "This time, he's targeting the Beacon Project." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. Grayson wasn't just coming after me anymore, he was going after the people I was trying to help. Shirley's face hardened when I told her the news. "He's desperate," she said. "He knows he can't win against you, so he's trying to undermine everything you're building." "What do we do?" I asked, panic creeping into my voice. "We protect what you've built," she said firmly. The next few days were a blur of meetings and strategy sessions. With Dana's help, we crafted a response that not only defended the Beacon Project, but highlighted the positive impact it was having. We also reached out to other organizations and allies, rallying support to counter Grayson's narrative before it could gain traction. The turning point came when Sarah, unprompted, wrote a letter about her experiences in the program and shared it publicly. Her words were raw and heartfelt, a testament to the power of mentorship and community. "Because of the Beacon Project," she wrote, "I'm starting to feel like I can be myself. I'm starting to believe that being different doesn't mean being alone." The letter went viral, garnering widespread attention and effectively shutting down Grayson's latest attempt to discredit me. That night, as I read through the flood of supportive comments, I felt a sense of closure I hadn't expected. Grayson's power was gone, his credibility shattered. And while the fight wasn't over, for me or for others like Sarah, I knew we'd won an important battle. After Sarah's letter went viral, it felt like a weight had lifted, not just from me, but from everyone involved in the Beacon Project. The letter had done more than just counter Grayson's attack, it had sparked something larger. People from all over began sharing their stories, tagging me, Sarah, and the project in posts filled with hope, vulnerability, and strength. Shirley called it a movement. I didn't know if it was that big yet, but I could feel the ripple effects. The messages weren't just directed at me, they were connecting people to each other, creating a network of solidarity and understanding. Even at school, the atmosphere had shifted again. It wasn't just whispers or curiosity anymore. It was genuine respect. My classmates started asking questions, not in a prying or invasive way, but with a genuine desire to understand. Teachers were incorporating discussions about identity and acceptance into their lessons. Lydia and Richard practically beamed whenever someone mentioned the changes. "You've started something amazing, Lexi," Lydia said one afternoon as we walked to lunch. "I don't know about amazing," I said, feeling a little embarrassed. "Don't downplay it," Richard added, nudging me gently. "You've made this school, this town, a better place. Own it." Their words warmed me, but I couldn't shake the feeling that there was still more to do. That evening, Shirley and Stephen sat me down for a meeting in the living room. Dana joined us over video call, her usual sharpness softened by a look of pride. "We've been contacted by a publishing house," Shirley said, sliding a printed email across the table. I blinked, reading the words slowly. The publisher wanted to turn my story into a book, something that could reach an even wider audience. "A book?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "It's a big opportunity," Dana said through the screen. "Your story has already inspired so many people. This could take it even further." The idea was daunting. Writing a book felt so much bigger than anything I'd done before. But it also felt right. What would it even look like? I asked. "That's up to you," Shirley said. "But we'll help you every step of the way." The next few weeks were a blur of brainstorming sessions and writing exercises. I spent hours at my desk, pouring my thoughts onto the page, trying to capture not just what had happened to me, but what it had meant. The process was harder than I expected. Reliving the darker moments of my journey brought up emotions I hadn't fully dealt with, but Shirley and Stephen were always there to talk me through it. Lydia and Richard were my cheerleaders, reminding me of how far I'd come whenever this self-doubt crept in. As the manuscript began to take shape, I started to see it for what it was, a chance to close one chapter of my life while opening another. But just as things seemed to be settling into a rhythm, another curveball hit. One afternoon, as I was working on a particularly challenging chapter, Stephen rushed into the kitchen, his face pale. "We have a problem," he said, setting his laptop on the table. "What is it?" Shirley asked, her voice sharp. "Grayson's back," Stephen said grimly. My heart sank. "What do you mean?" "He's been working with a fringe media outlet," Stephen explained. "They're planning to release a hit piece about the Beacon Project, claiming it's indoctrinating kids." The words made my stomach churn. After everything we'd done, after everything Sarah and so many others had shared, Grayson was still trying to tear us down. "What do we do?" I asked, my voice trembling. "We fight back," Shirley said immediately. "Just like we've done before." But this time, it felt different. This wasn't just about me anymore. It was about the entire community we'd built. Over the next few days, we worked tirelessly to prepare. Dana contacted major outlets to preempt the attack, while Stephen compiled evidence of the Beacon Project's positive impact. I reached out to Sarah, who was more determined than ever to defend the program that had changed her life. When the hit piece dropped, it was met with immediate backlash. The outlet's credibility was already shaky, and their attempt to smear the Beacon Project only highlighted their bias. Sarah's voice became the rallying cry, her bravery inspiring countless others to speak out. By the end of the week, the hit piece had backfired spectacularly. Donations to the Beacon Project surged, and its message reached more people than ever before. That night, as we gathered in the living room to celebrate, Shirley raised her glass. "To resilience," she said, "and to the people who remind us why it matters." I smiled, the warmth of her words washing over me. For the first time in a long time, I felt like we weren't just surviving, we were thriving. The momentum following the defeat of Grayson's latest attack didn't slow down. If anything, it intensified. The Beacon Project received more attention than ever, with volunteers pouring in and chapters opening in new cities. Sarah's letter continued to circulate, becoming a symbol of hope for so many who were navigating their own struggles. For me, life had shifted in ways I hadn't fully anticipated. The book I was working on was taking shape, and the process was teaching me more about myself than I thought possible. Writing down my story forced me to confront not just the pain and challenges, but also the strength and joy that had carried me through. Shirley called it owning my narrative. I called it exhausting but rewarding. One afternoon, as I sat at my desk wrestling with a particularly difficult chapter, my phone buzzed with a notification. It was from Jamie. "I've been thinking about your speech and your letter. Do you ever feel like you're still figuring things out, even after everything?" The question hit me harder than I expected. I stared at it for a long time, my fingers hovering over the keyboard as I tried to find the right words. Finally, I replied, "All the time. But I think that's part of it. Figuring things out doesn't mean you're failing, it means you're growing." Jamie's response came quickly, "Thanks. That helps more than you know." Their words stayed with me as I worked on the book that evening. It reminded me of the power of connection, of how even small acts of vulnerability could create ripples of understanding and support. The next morning, Shirley called a family meeting in the kitchen. Stephen was already there, his laptop open, a cup of coffee in hand. "What's going on?" I asked, sliding into my usual seat. "We've been contacted by another organization," Shirley said, her tone measured but excited. Stephen turned the laptop toward me, showing an email from an international advocacy group. They were hosting a global summit on youth empowerment and wanted me to speak about my experiences with the Beacon Project. "Global," I repeated, my voice rising in disbelief. "It's a big opportunity," Shirley said. "Your story has already had an incredible impact here. Imagine what it could do on a global scale." The idea was exhilarating but terrifying. Speaking at a global event felt like stepping into an entirely new world. Could I really do this? "You can," Shirley said, reading my hesitation. "And we'll help you prepare, just like always." Over the next few weeks, my days were consumed with preparation. Dana helped me refine my speech, ensuring it was both personal and impactful. Lydia and Richard listened patiently as I rehearsed, offering feedback and encouragement. Please subscribe for the next part and visit my Patreon page for early access.